Hello everyone, my name is Lindsay O'Gork, and for Module 1 I have created a Makerspace lesson plan. And I'm very excited about this lesson plan because it's actually going to be applied in my classroom this week. And so by working on it this week as preparing it for this assignment, I was able to go through and to really tinker with it and fine tune it and base it on my differentiated learners in my classroom. So for this lesson, we will be creating totem poles, and the question to be applied to my class is, what was the meaning of totem poles in Native American culture? Now, we have been discussing Native American culture as well as the westward expansion. So this is going to be building on a prior activity that we had a couple weeks ago where we were talking about Native American engineering, and we actually built Native American houses. So it's going to be building on prior knowledge that my students have, and we're going to be going forth. So you'll see as I discuss in this lesson plan, reviewing certain things. That is because 3 weeks ago, we did an activity that talked about Native American engineering. And so the children are familiar with some of the terminology as well as building upon some of the mathematics and science standards. So for this lesson, obviously, we're going to be talking about social studies, Native American studies, history with the westward expansion. For mathematics, measuring height, talking about the height of our totem poles. And for science, talking again about gravity and stability. Now for this lesson, we have been collecting various recyclable materials. So I'm just going to quickly go through them. Cardboard rolls, tin cans, plastic cups, small cardboard boxes. And these things have come from family members that have donated to the classroom. We always try to be eco-conscious when we're using our makerspace. In conjunction with that, they will be working on not just building a structure of a totem pole, but decorating it. So construction paper, glue, markers, tape, scissors, paint brushes are things that will be supplied to them. I'm also supplying a totem animal face template. That is not something that they have to use, but it's something that I supply because there are some students who struggle with being able to take an idea and to put it into action. So that template's kind of just a differentiation to support those type of learners so that they have something that they could go off of to put on their totem poles. But I'm really going to encourage their creativity. I really want them to make their totem poles unique, and I want to see their artistic abilities. So the template is really something that is just an in case. For technologies, I'll be using the smartboard, video camera, internet access, computers, iPad with iPencil, and Corel Draw. Additionally, we will have some books that are going to be provided. I do have some tactile learners who do best with using books, so I am supplying some of those for the groups to go over and reference with regards to Native American culture. I've checked all these books out. They do have totem pole references in there in several places. So just an experience for learners who do better with being able to hold a book and flip through. Yes, let's go down. So basically, my plan here with this design is that the students will use recyclable materials in addition to art supplies, and that they will, work together as a group to create a totem pole. And based on the description of a makerspace was really how I built this lesson. So my making is one of the aspects of a makerspace, so the outcome of a totem pole. Tinkering, manipulating the various materials into a totem pole structure. Producing, making a unique totem pole based on each group's design and representation. And then our authentic audience. So our authentic audience is going to be through students using camcorders as stated above in my needed materials. So students are going to use camcorders. There's going to be a media consultant within each group, and that media consultant will be responsible for recording the group's progress from beginning to end of the totem pole, and then creating a video at the end, which I'll talk more about in just a few moments, but creating a video at the end, and it will be uploaded to the school's website. showing the creation of their totem pole in the makerspace. Additionally, the totem poles are going to be displayed in the art gallery, so I think that it will really give students a push towards doing their best and also being creative, because they know that these items are going to be something they're going to be representing to their school community. So I think that it will help them to make a connection to this. Damn. All right, so I planned for this lesson to be 5 lesson sessions, 45 minutes each. Some of the key vocabulary: totem poles, gravity, structure, blueprint, constructs, Native Americans, height and measurement are some of the things that the class will hear about within the lesson, and I will also introduce them within the first lesson just to make sure that we're clear on these vocabulary words. The essential questions to be answered throughout this lesson was: what was the meaning of totem poles in Native American culture? How were totem poles crafted? Can you create a totem pole? What materials do you think balance together based on the height and weight of a totem pole? So really revisiting that concept of stability and structure that we visited 3 weeks ago, and building upon that background knowledge and creating this structure, because we really did work on 3 weeks ago when we made our Native American houses, understanding that the structure on the top cannot be heavier than the foundation can hold. So just really revisiting that. For differentiation, I am providing multiple resources about totem poles, allowing students to use computer software to create a blueprint of their totem pole, and allowing students to select which groups they are participating in. Okay, so based on Next Gen's science standards, students will be able to connect to science and mathematics via motion stability, using tools strategically, and the application of mathematical models to blueprints to produce the outcome. So I really tried, as I created this makerspace, to make sure that I was aligning with Next Gen science standards, as well as building upon prior knowledge that my students had. My objectives are: students will be able to identify the symbols of a totem pole in Native American history. They'll be able to build upon their basic engineering skills to create a structure that they'll be able to understand and revisit gravity's role on a structure, and that they will be able to apply everyday mathematical concepts and engineering process, because they are 5th graders, and as they are getting older, their thinking is changing. So I'm really excited to see the progress that we've been making in makerspaces, and just to see where their thought process goes to, because they're moving from that elementary level of everything is so concrete to having a more abstract view of the world. So it's very interesting to see their creativity. All right, so we've talked a little bit about what I've done over the past couple of weeks, but it's 3 weeks ago we started learning about Native American culture. We started learning about their building and their Native Americans engineering capabilities. Students actively worked with recyclable materials before to construct a Native American house. So they do have experience, as I said, with designing blueprints, working with various materials, and creating different structures to withhold under various gravity situations. So for day 1, I'm going to just reintroduce students to the makerspace, review the rules, go over the behaviors, what I expect with the materials, and students will be assigned within their roles. So the roles for my lesson will be facilitator, materials collector, engineer, timekeeper, and media consultant. So for day 2, I'm going to introduce the video. Students will break down into their groups. After they've decided on what kind of design they're going to make, the engineer will go and will use the Corel Draw system and an iPad to create a digital blueprint. While that's happening, the materials collector will get the materials that they've talked about. The media consultant will begin to record these activities, and the facilitator and timekeeper will work with either paper, the paper books that we had, or they can use internet to gather the information about the totem poles and be able to share with the group. So that way everyone within the group is actively engaged in a task. Then they'll gather back together, they'll discuss what they went over and see if anything needs to be brought to me. For day 2, they'll reconvene. For day 2, they will actually start the process of assembling the totem pole. During this process, the engineer will be helping to direct the building of the structure and making changes if he or she sees that gravity is working against them. While the engineer does that, the facilitator will work on keeping everyone on task. The materials collector will be responsible for refilling any additional supplies, and the media consultant will be working on recording. The last 10 minutes of the day will be with the facilitator, gathering her group members, making sure they're on task, and getting any questions for the teacher. On day 4 is where the materials collector will begin at the beginning of the session, gathering the art materials for the final process. They'll decorate the totem pole, and they will come together as a group. So everyone will be working on the decoration process. The creativity will be a whole group thing. The only person who will not be working on the decoration part will be the media consultant, because the media consultant will be doing a different role, which is recording their progress as they go along. And then at the end, the facilitator will gather everyone together, do a quick debrief, making sure that there's no information that needs to be passed on to the teacher, me, before they present their final project. So on day 5, the facilitator will gather the group. They will review the completed totem pole, as well as work together within their group to edit the video for the school's website. And then upon completion of this, they will present their video to the class as well as their totem pole. So the assessment for this project will be based on the completed project of the totem pole and the group members' participation. Now for the video, we will be using Vimeo. This will be my first time actually using it. And I did secure a lesson from our computer science teacher, and I did upload a video prior to this to check on my capability of understanding how to use it, as well as editing a video, which I've done on the side. So I am confident that this will be an easy program for students to use. It's very applicable for them with their basic computer science skills that they do know, to be able to put this video up there. And editing is really going to be making sure that the video is within a certain time constraint and making sure that the processes run smoothly through the video. And that will be something, as in saying this, that I will be involved in, going around making sure that the groups are not struggling with this. This is not something that I expect them to do all on their own. So I will be there as a lead facilitator within this process. So this is my Makerspace lesson, and I hope that you have enjoyed learning about it and have gleaned a little information about a Makerspace within a 5th grade classroom. I thank you for joining me, and have a wonderful afternoon.